Hey guys, welcome to episode number 102. Today I wanted to follow up on my mangrove project and let you guys know some of the things that have been going on here. As you might recall, at the beginning I had a raft created here out of styrofoam, and each of the mangrove propagules was placed in a hole within that raft. That worked for some time. The mangroves obviously grew really tall, and I had to raise this light bar 2 or 3 times already to kind of keep up with the growth of the mangroves. I've been dosing it with this Florinova grow formula, and that's been working really well. I dose that about once a week. My auto doser had sprung a leak, so I took that off. I'm manually dosing for now. I might get back to that at some point. But the most noticeable things that have changed here over the past few months is the mangroves themselves. I've been trimming them back. All of the growing tips, as you'll see here, have been trimmed back. So the second I cut this tip here, these 2 side shoots started. And then when the side shoots started to get too large, I started to cut them back as well. And as you can see, we're getting more growing tips. So the general strategy here is to try to keep these guys as small and bushy as possible for right now. They will grow to be trees, so I want to try to keep them as small as possible. Kind of like a bonsai, but not really. I just want to keep them under control. I don't want them to grow 10 feet because I don't have 10 feet to give them. So that's kind of what's going on up top here. What that's allowed me to do is level some of the competition here between the mangroves for light, because some of the tallest mangroves, there were like 3 or 4 of the tallest mangroves here, were outcompeting all of the other mangroves, and I have lost a few mangroves. Some of the ones that never really took off very fast I've lost. Some of them aren't that healthy. They're kind of drooping, so I might lose a few more, but the ones that are going strong are really going strong, and I'm seeing, you know, 2 or 3 inches of growth every week or 2 out of some of these plants. So they're really starting to take off. They're really consuming all of the nutrients, and I haven't seen too many signs of distress out of these healthy plants. There's a few leaves that are showing a little brown, but I think that might just be a lapse in my dosing. I might have forgot to dose them one week or another. But all of the new leaves are very big, very green and healthy. So I'm hoping that the healthy mangroves within this tank will remain that way. Now the other thing you'll notice here is I removed the raft. The raft is no longer there. I wanted the roots to be able to sink into the substrate here, and the only way for me to do that was to take the raft out, because the mangroves were just kind of floating in the raft, and the roots didn't really get a chance to grip in. So all of the roots are now sitting in the gravel, and hopefully those roots will start to dig their way into the gravel. And what that's allowed me to do is also to kind of space these out and separate them a little bit more. When they were in the raft, they were very close together. They were within an inch of one another. And what I've done here now is along this PVC frame that I've created for the lights and the power, I've now drilled a bunch of screws into the top of this frame. And then what I did was I just attached a bunch of rubber bands together to kind of form a grid out of this tank. And the theory here is the mangroves are able to you know, right themselves. Their roots are able to grab into the soil, but I'm not allowing them to fall over completely because they're kind of held in place by this grid. There's 1 mangrove plant per square here at the very most, so they're able to kind of be separated a little bit more. And as they grow, I might be able to modify this grid, you know, at will to form larger compartments. So right now there's, you know, two screws, you know, per compartment here. I might just, you know, move it over to create a wider compartment. to give the mangroves more space to grow, especially if some of the weaker ones kind of die off here. I might be able to spread them out a little bit more. I might need to add some additional lighting as these plants grow, because they're kind of taking over this space now as I keep trimming them back. But the general idea here is I'm going to keep trimming them back as those side shoots start to pop out. I'll let them grow until they show a few leaves, but after that I'll start to trim them back. So here's an example where we've got a side shoot. It starts right there, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 sets of leaves on this side shoot here. I might, within the next week or two, decide to cut this back, and I might cut it right there after 2 sets of leaves and allow a couple more side shoots to pop out, just to kind of keep these under control, keep them relatively small. I believe at this point most of these are not going to fit within a sump tank, but that's not my plan. My long-term plan is to incorporate these into a stock tank, probably a 300-gallon stock tank with the turtles. So hopefully I can get these guys established enough, get the roots big and strong enough that they can stand up on their own, and hopefully that the turtles won't demolish them the second I put them in with the turtles. But I want them to be able to stand on their own, and I think this is the next step to allow that to happen. So we'll see how it goes. I'll continue to dose fertilizers, and I'll continue to trim them back, and I'll continue to do water changes every week on this tank, and see how it works out for me. But that's the progress. As you can see, they've grown quite a bit over the last few months. They'll be coming up on about a year old here relatively shortly. So it's quite a bit of growth in 1 year. I've been much more successful with these than I was in the past with my first batch of mangroves. So big pat on the back for me for that, I guess. And I hope you guys have learned a few things about potentially raising mangroves from my little experiment here. I'm no expert on them, but I'm learning as I go. So they look happy, they look healthy, and I'll just continue to do what I'm doing, and hopefully it works out. Alright guys, see you later.